I have always wanted to learn stuff. I remember when I was in 10th grade, coming back home from our weekly exam, I would take my mother's small laptop and lock myself in my bedroom. But unlike most of my peers, I wasn't watching manga or watching manga. I was practicing coding, trying to create websites with PHP. But contrary to most success stories out there, I never made it. I never cracked my high school system, though I seriously thought about it. I did what a lot of people out there do when they learn a skill. I gave up because eventually life did me and I focused on more urgent things. The problem is, this feeling never quite stopped coming back. Learning, getting better, being the best, and a few years later, I decided I would sing. How did it go? I sang so badly my own mother would cringe. But this didn't discourage me. The more people cringe while listening to me, the more I swore to myself I would sing better. I read every blog on the internet that was available, I watched hundreds of YouTube videos, and I sang every day. Days turns week turns month, and still people won't like my voice. Then one day, I don't really know how, one of my friends was passing by and heard me singing, and he would just knock down and enter and ask me like, "Dude, you the one who's singing?" I'll say, "Yes." And I'll say like, "Oh my god, you need to teach me how to sing." And that's how I became good at singing. And of course, I'm not a voice genius or whatever, but up till now, some people will hear me sing and say things like, "Oh, you're really talented." But I'm not. And make no mistake, my story is by no means the only one. The founder of CD Baby and author of Anything You Want, Derek Silver, learned how to sing for 13 years before people started noticing he was a good singer. Don't believe me? Check it out. If you look closely, you'll find thousands of stories of people who weren't good at the beginning but became one of the best in their field. So how the fuck did they do that? One could argue that this was some kind of hidden talent, but this would be hypocritical. According to the talent myth, 50 years of research have failed to show a correlation between adulthood performances and early talent. As for myself, just a few months without practicing and people will start cringing again. One could also argue that they just worked hard for years, but this will also be misleading. I've been typing on my keyboard for 20 years without any improvement. Maybe you see where I'm going. If you have been into the PD productivity stuff for some time, you definitely should have learned about Malcolm Gladwell's books that was inspired by the researcher Erickson, the 10,000 hours rule. Basically, you need to practice 10,000 hours before being an expert. But what people often forget is that it's not just practice, it's deliberate practice. A form of aggressive practice that's very hard with the specific intention of getting better. What makes a practice deliberate? Focus? Objectives? Voodoo? Having tried myself for years, I think there's a lack of understanding of what deliberate practice really is. And that's why in this video, I'm going to show you a concrete example by actually trying to design one. This is going to be messy, but in my opinion, seeing the actual steps of practicing a skill is the best way for you to remember and apply it. And I found 3 simple steps that encapsulate the principle of getting better. But before that, let's talk about Benjamin Franklin.
Whoa, okay. So, when he was young, he tried to convince his friend that women should be educated. His father heard his letter and quickly pointed out that his argument lacked elegance of expression, method, and perspicuity, whatever it means. In order to change that, he decided to write a brief resume of very good article he found. Then he tried to rewrite them in his own word, comparing the difference in the quality of the argument. For example, he realized he didn't have a good vocabulary, and to force himself to generate words, he wrote the article he read in verse. And after that, he noticed he wasn't quite able to organize his idea correctly, so he took an essay, tore arguments apart, led them for weeks until he forgot about them, then attempted to rearrange them to have a full essay. The first time I read about Benjamin Franklin's story, I thought it was somewhat crazy. Like, there's no way I'm going to do it. Like, even if it works, like, why don't you just take this time and actually write, or I don't know, take lessons? But here's the thing. If you just try to write more often, you'll probably improve your vocabulary 5% of time. Why? Because you'll be busy with every other sub-skill of writing, like organizing your idea or finding convincing argument, correcting orthography mistakes. You won't even be able to focus 1/10 of what Benjamin did. This means 10 times less progress. So, how can we recreate this practice?
Okay, so for more than a year, I've been trying to learn German. Though I can read and listen pretty well, I will have a hard time producing sentences, whether they're spoken or written. Indeed, producing complex sentences demands that you retrieve the correct set of words in the correct context. See more in my video on reading. For example, you will ask, where do you work in English, but what do you do as a job in German? And if you want to say, I love getting better, what you probably do if you're watching this video, you will probably have to say something like, I love it to improve myself. But what if you're not interested in language? No problem. If you want to learn, for example, drawing, maybe your weakest link is drawing hands, so you want to draw a lot of hands. For guitar, maybe it's coordinating your two hands when playing fast. And for coding, maybe it's simply increasing your math skills. And the best way to find it is to analyze your performance by yourself or with someone that's a lot better than you. Drill. Now, Scott Young, the author of Ultra Learning, said, the hardest way is the easiest way. And if you want to get better quickly, give a lot of time on the sub-skill you're practicing. For myself, I decided I'll make a lot of cards containing diverse subjects I want to talk to. Then, I'll break them down into the simplest question possible. And then give myself a cue containing the word I could use. Therefore, the only missing thing will be to generate the correct syntax of a particular argument, or simply picking the particular set of words for the question. After writing the correct argument, I will compare it to a better version, note my mistake, and redo them again until my brain fully accommodates to this way of thinking. How do I compare it to a better version exactly? By using feedback. If, like me, you don't have an expert to guide you, you will have to pay attention to the wrong notion you may be learning and course correct. Why is it so important? Take a beginner guitarist. He tries to play bare chords for days and it sounds terrible. But if you simply tell him to move his goddamn thumb a little bit, you solve the issue. Another reason is that we are often biased towards the wrong path. Like when you read your third chapter of maths without having done a single exercise, there is no way you're going to learn how to solve differential equation if you don't solve a lot of differential equation. And I'll use 3 feedback techniques to make sure I don't fall into those traps. 1. I'll write some full essays 2 times a week to make sure I'm not consolidating any mistakes or following wrong path. This by itself will help me understand what I'm doing wrong. But it can be even better. I'll use my friend Paula, who is a native German speaker, and she's going to correct my essays in a way I never could have guessed. And 3, since I'm going to write an exam, I will need from time to time the help of an actual teacher, and she's going to help me write in the exact way the examiners are expecting. Let's be honest, deliberate practice is really not simple, and I don't want to give you this impression. And for this reason, I'll post others episode that will explain how things change and how I'm getting better or worse. And this will help me increase my speaking and writing ability in less than a month. Why am I so convinced? Well, because psychological research, thousands of untalented people, and my own experiment taught me that with the good techniques, progress comes a lot faster. And because nothing is smarter than all great matter. And I'll see you next time.